That's now recording, Chair.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. July the 7th, we're reviewing the premise licence for the Buck Hotel in Caersws. I'm Councillor Adrian Jones, and I shall be chairing the meeting. So we'll just make a few introductions first, please. If we go round, we got three on the panel. Can you introduce yourself, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm Councillor Kelly Healy for Newtown South and Central.
And then we have Lauren.
Yes, I'm Councillor Lauren De Silva, Landrindod South.
And we have Councillor Rod Bowen. Rod Bowen from the police. Sorry.
Yes, sorry, Chair. Yes, Rod Bowen, Dyfed Powys Police Licensing Officer for the County of Powys.
Thank you. And we have Mr. Clive Whitehead.
Landlord of the Buck Hotel.
Thank you. Natalie Jones from Powys County Council Licensing.
Yeah, good morning. Natalie Jones, Licensing Team Manager.
And Rachel Mole.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yeah, Rachel Mole, solicitor for Powys. I'm Clark. Here in this morning.
And we also have a member of the press, Elgin Hearn, present. Could you take us through the procedure, please, Rachel, for the meeting?
Yes, of course, Chair. Just before I do, I wonder, I noticed that Mr. Whitehead has an individual with him. Perhaps could you introduce yourselves for clarity?
I'm Jane Malt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rachel.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we do have a procedure to follow this morning. It's not intended to be strict, but it's to ensure that all parties have ample opportunity to convey what they want to convey to the panel for consideration. So what will happen, first of all, is the licensing officer will put forward their report to the panel. The panel can ask any questions that they wish arising from that. Then it's over to Mr. Rod Bowen, the responsible authority, to present their case to the panel. The panel and yourself, Mr. Whitehead, can raise any questions that you wish arising from that. Then it would be over to you. Mr. Whitehead has the holder to then put forward your representations and anything that you want the panel to take into consideration this morning with their decision. The panel and the responsible authority can raise any questions arising from that. The chair will invite closing statements, ensure that everyone has had the opportunity to say everything they want to say this morning. Then the panel, together with myself, will withdraw from this online room to a private session where deliberations will take place and a decision will be made. If you could remain here online, the decision will then be conveyed to you verbally, and I will then follow that up in writing together with any appeal mechanism. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rachel. In that case, could I ask Natalie Jones to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So we're all here today following a premise licence review application being submitted by Dyfed Powys Police against the Buck Hotel in Caersws. Mr. Whitehead is currently the licensee and has been the premise licence holder and designated premises supervisor since 2019. As a bit of a background summary, so the licence holder, Mr. Whitehead, was arrested back in August, charged and subsequently found guilty of assault on his now ex-partner in March 2026. Following this conviction, Mr. Whitehead had his personal licence suspended for 3 months by Shropshire County Council. For clarity for all parties present, just a bit of a background on how the licensing regime is set up. So any premise where licensable activities take place is required to have a premise licence, so the Buck Hotel. And if those licensable activities include the sale of alcohol, a designated premises supervisor, a DPS for short, is needed. And to be a DPS, you need to be a personal licence holder. The authority in which you reside when you make your application for a personal licence retains ownership of that licence, and regardless of where you live or wherever the premises that you manage, the personal licence and any update to it, such as a change of address, are dealt with through the original issuing authority. So in this case, Mr. Whitehead has had his personal licence issued by Shropshire, and they've considered his licence following his conviction. The outcome of the personal licence review was a suspension of his personal licence for 3 months. In turn, this has implications for the licence at the Powys-based Buck Hotel, which Mr. Whitehead was both the licence holder and DPS. So as explained, his personal licence is currently suspended, so he has had to vary the DPS to someone else who is sat next to him. However, it's the premise licence that we're here to determine today. The police have requested the review based on reports and concern raised by both the public and police officers that the premise is failing to uphold the licensing objectives of crime and disorder and public safety. There have been 13 representations made during the consultation period. These representations were just letters of support that were submitted regarding this premise, which you've all seen in the report pack. And then there was also one letter supporting a revocation. Furthermore, Mr. Whitehead's also submitted a supporting statement to respond to the review application. So it is now for the subcommittee to make a decision when determining this application that steps are taken to ensure the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives. Just as a reminder, these are the prevention of crime and disorder, the protection of children from harm, public safety, and the prevention of public nuisance. The options that are available to the panel today are to A, reject the review and take no further action if it is determined that no steps are necessary to promote the licensing objectives. B, to modify the terms and conditions of the licence, such as amending times for licensable activities or adding operating conditions. C, to exclude a licensable activity from the premise licence. D, remove the DPS, although as per my previous update, this has already been done. E, suspend the licence for up to 3 months, or F, revoke the licence. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. So, are there any questions from the panel, please, first to Natalie?
Yes, Natalie, could we have the dates that this suspension of the DPS is effective from and to? You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, so that came into effect right at the end of May, and they had until the 21st of June to appeal. But since, so that would be from the 21st of June until the 20th of December, I guess, that would be in place. But already Mr. Whitehead has varied the DPS. So he couldn't be a DPS at any premise until after September anyway.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody, Kelly, got anything to ask? No?
No.
All right, thank you. In that case, can we move on to Rod Boyne, please, to make his case and present his information?
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, panel members. On behalf of the Chief Constable of Dyfed-Powys Police and in my role as the Police Licensing Officer for Powys, on the 30th of March 2026, I submitted an application for a review of a premises licence under Section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003. A copy of my application is attached to the file, which has already been provided to you by the Licensing Officer of the local authority. The review of the licence is for the Buck Hotel in Caersws. Premises licence number is 513 and the licence being held by Powys County Council. Attached to this application is a supplementary report together with several appendices. I do not intend to read through the application or the supplementary report, but to guide the panel through the key elements of my reports today. The licensing officer has outlined the details of my application together with an outline of your responsibilities as members of the panel. It is important to understand we are not here to prove that Mr. Whitehead has committed any specific offences under the Licensing Act or any other legislation. We are here to assess whether Mr. Whitehead, in his daily management of the BUC, has promoted the 4 key licensing objectives that have been set out in the Licensing Act of 2003. I will repeat what Natalie said. These are the prevention of crime and disorder, promotion of public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. You as panel members will also need to consider if you have the confidence or belief that Mr. Whitehead will comply and promote these objectives in the future if you decide not to revoke the premises license today. To support the police's view that Mr. Whitehead has not and will not in the future promote these objectives, within my reports I have summarised 4 specific incidents and provided written evidence regarding each incident for you to consider. Again, I do not propose to go through each of these incidents in detail, as the evidence and facts are evidence for you to see and read. Further, the panel will have been updated by the local authority's licensing officer of the outcome of the hearing held by Shropshire County Council regarding the suspension for a period of 3 months of Mr. Whitehead's personal licence, following his conviction of a domestic-related assault that I've outlined in my report at incident number 2. This decision and outcome is relevant and should also be considered by you as panel members today. I shall now go on to outline the background details of my concerns together with the outcomes available to you today. The panel will see I have outlined these within my supplementary report, which I shall now also refer to. Background. This licensed premises is a public house located in the centre of Caersoos with a number of residential properties nearby, together with other similar public houses and businesses operating in the village. The concerns raised, Dyfed-Powys Police, through our licensing team and neighbourhood policing teams, support licensed premises to provide value to their communities and to do so complementarily and in promotion of the 4 licensing objectives. This premises, having been under the control of the existing operating for an extensive period of time, has been identified as not operating to the high standards that are expected by Dyfed-Powys Police and our partners. It is imperative that all licensed premises promote the 4 key licensing objectives and discourage any violence which can tarnish the reputation of the licensed communities throughout the county. Indeed, revised guidance issued under the Home Office, Section 1A2 of the Licensing Act states, at paragraph 11.7, in every case, any application for a review must relate to a particular premises in respect of which there is a premises license or club premises certificate and must be relevant to the promotion of one or more of the licensing objectives. Paragraph 11.20 goes on to say, in deciding which of these powers to invoke, it is expected that licensing authorities should, so far as possible, seek to establish the cause or causes of concerns that the representations identify. The remedial action taken should generally be directed at these causes and should always be no more than appropriate and proportionate response to address the causes of concern that instigated the review. My supplementary report then goes on to outline the details of each of the 4 specific incidents that I refer to. As stated, I will not go into any detail into those, as you have been able to read the details of and have seen some footage of incident number 3, which you've been provided prior to today's hearing. I will now go outline to the available outcomes available to the subcommittee. To assist the members of the subcommittee in their determination, Dyfed-Powys make the following submissions in relation to the available outcome options in respect of its application for the review of a premises licence. Option number 1 take no action. The guidance issued by the Home Office under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003 and the Statement of Licensing Policy for Powys County Council stipulates that intervention is necessary to address significant concerns associated with crime and disorder. Dyfed-Powys Police are of the view that taking no action is not an appropriate determination today, as there is a need to address the concerns that I have raised as a result of the 4 incidents outlined. A second option is to exclude licensable activities from the premises license. The current premises license permits the following activities: the performance of live music, the playing of recorded music, the performance of dance, entertainment of a similar description to that fallen above, and the supply of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises. The premises is permitted to offer the above licensable activities until 3 a.m. each day. The removal of or amendment of the above conditions, in the view of Dyfed-Powys Police, would not have halted the events that have been outlined in the 4 incidents that I have mentioned. And I believe, therefore, excluding any of the licensed activities would not serve a purpose to promote the 4 key licensing objectives. You can modify or add to existing conditions. The statutory guidance, Section 182, sets out as general principles at paragraph 1.16 and states conditions on a premises license are important in setting the parameters within which premises can lawfully operate. Amongst other requirements, the guidance further states that license conditions must be appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, should not duplicate other statutory requirements or other duties or responsibilities placed on the employer by other legislation, and should not replicate offences set out in 2003 Act or any other legislation. Dyfed-Powys Police do not consider that any amended or further conditions would resolve the concerns that have been detailed above. Primarily, this is due to Mr. Whitehead's poor management of the premises and him ignoring existing operating conditions within the licence. However, if the panel were considering such an action, then the police would like to see stronger and more relevant conditions to support the 4 key licensing objectives. Such conditions could include conditions to cover the fitting of better CCTV, employment of SIA door staff at agreed times and dates, detailed staff training to cover aspects and subjects that promote the 4 key licensing objectives, and such training shall be recorded and these records be available for inspection by the local authority and police on request. Another option is to suspend the licence for a period not exceeding 3 months. Any temporary suspension of this premises licence is as unlikely to result in any substantial improvement to this premises. Dyfed-Powys Police would only support a short suspension of the premises licence if the subcommittee members would be reassured that a suspension is necessary to implement any measures imposed by the members in their determination today. Suspension of a premises licence should not be utilised as a punitive measure. The option that we are supporting is to revoke the premises licence, and as I say, Dyfed-Powys support the view that this option is the last resort for the subcommittee. Whilst fiscal issues are outside of the considerations of the subcommittee, Dyfed-Powys Police constantly adopt a proportionate approach wherever possible to remain sensitive to the commercial viability of businesses and to ensure that we support an outcome which reflects the concerns identified. Dyfed-Powys Police acknowledge the value that licensed premises add to communities as a place of social and economic value. However, where the presence of a licensed premises becomes detrimental to a community or presents a risk to those that enjoy the use of a licensed premises, appropriate action must be taken to seek improvement or address those concerns proportionally. On consideration of the incidents and the available options, consideration of the statutory guidance issued by the Home Office and the Powys' own County Council policy statement of licensing, Dyfed-Powys Police recommend that this premise licence be revoked unless members of the subcommittee can be confident that there is no prospect of recurrence of this type of violence. The conclusion. Dyfed-Powys Police invite the members of the subcommittee to consider all of the above options in their determination. If the members of the subcommittee take action that intends to avoid revocation of the premises licence, they should be satisfied that one of the alternative outcomes will sufficiently mitigate the concerns that have been highlighted and within the associated evidence. Violence associated with persons holding a position of authority within licensed premises cannot be acceptable. And whilst the licensing teams within Dyfed-Powys Police expect high standards of delivery to maintain safety for patrons and promotion of the licensing objectives, this activity fell short of the most basic standards of their behaviour expected of licensees in our communities. Any determination that does not reflect the severity of these offences will be a departure from the Powys County Council's own licensing policy and the statutory guidance issued by the Home Office. That is my report, and I ask you now to consider the information that you have been provided.
Thank you, Lord. Rachel, you got your hand up. Rachel?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I noted reference to some footage from Mr. Bowen. In the interest of procedural fairness, I think if that footage is being relied on evidence, it perhaps should be viewed by all parties here. Is that the intention for it to be made available?
Yes, it's public. It's been placed onto a public site previously, and that's where we've obtained it. So yes, I have seen no reason why it shouldn't be used and be shown.
Okay, so if you obtained it from a public available site and is available to the public, then by all means, if it's something that I think that is being relied on, it should be viewed during this hearing.
Right.
Okay.
Natalie,
I have it available. If shall I share my screen? Is that the best way to
Yes, please,
do this?
Natalie.
Okay, bear with me. Okay, I'll play it now. Do you need to see it again, or?
No, thank you. Seen it several.
I mean, I can't hear any sound with that. Can anyone else?
No.
Apologies if you couldn't hear the sound, but I think it's more the footage that is the concern. But if Rod has any comments that he wishes to make in regard to those videos, then perhaps now would be appropriate.
Rod,
Yeah.
have you got anything to add?
the only thing that I would say to that and add to that, which I have mentioned in my report, is that the level of violence is extreme. It's not just involving one individual or two individuals. It is involving a large scale and a large group. The worrying thing from a police perspective out of that, as I have mentioned in my report, was that no reports were made to the police on the night in question. No calls were made to any medical assistance to any of the individuals that were involved in that who may have needed any medical treatment. The first that we were aware of it is like other people, is when this was posted onto social media. That is when we've identified there was an investigation. No further action was taken as a result of that, simply on the fact that nobody was prepared to provide any evidence other than the footage that we had. Nobody was prepared to make any complaints in relation to any specific assaults or any other action or wanted any further action taken as a result of the incident. Chair.
Thank you, Rod. Can I just ask you a couple of questions, please? Sorry, Lauren, I'll bring you in a minute. What time of day or night was that incident, please?
That was in the early part of the evening. The specifics of the time, I haven't got
7 or 8 o'clock, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Just, I'd like to delve into, well, Mr. Clive Whitehead's had his personal license suspended, and I'm viewing a lot of this report is point towards management of the pub, and we've got to establish really as a panel, is there a culture of this pub being a regular trouble spot, or is it just the management's been poor? Have you got any more information to direct us towards thinking that it's a regular trouble spot and causing issues?
Not specifically to suggest that it's a regular trouble spot. What I'm saying is within my report, and I've tried to word within my report, that is that the nature of the management when incidents have taken place is not what I would expect a licensee to promote. He hasn't promoted any of the key licensing objectives in relation to preventing the crime and disorder, and he hasn't done anything in relation to the public safety promotion aspect of those 4 code of conduct premises.
Yeah, well, I'm fully taking that on board, Rod. So, I mean, that's probably why his license has been suspended. We're looking at the premises, aren't we?
That's correct.
And we've got to establish in our minds that it is a place that is not safe for the public through either poor management, which can be dealt with, or it's got a culture of being a place attracts trouble. Now, many pubs can have one-off incident of a pub crawl. To me, that film looked a bit like Stag Do. They were in fancy dress, and you get that they're traveling around the county and they just land in a pub. We've got to establish, is it attracting that type of activity, and is the place safe? So just a couple of quick questions on safety. Is the CCTV up to standard now in your mind, and have the fire regs been dealt with? Because that's in the report and it doesn't seem to have been underlined that the fire regs have been dealt with. You know, these are 2 key safety things in my mind at the moment. We'll go on to other stuff later.
In relation,
oh, sorry.
Sorry, Rod's got to answer. You have your chance, Mr. Whitehead.
In relation to the CCTV, I am now led to believe that the CCTV has been repaired. We haven't had any specific incidents where we have had to go and request the CCTV to confirm that fact. In relation to the fire report, it was included in my report to show the lack of responsibility taken by Mr. Whitehead in his role as the premises license holder. Unfortunately, as stated, the premises license didn't follow up their initial findings in relation to the report that I've attached, and I understand it is their intentions to follow those up at some point in the immediate future.
Thank you. So the fire regs haven't been dealt with, but it's not Mr. Whitehead's fault. They just haven't been followed up by the department.
Well, it's the issues that have been raised would be Mr. Whitehead's responsibility. The actions that have been requested of him and the lack of ownership by the fire service to see whether he has complied with those actions, that is an issue for the fire service. Thank
you. And just for everyone, you mentioned you haven't had to go back to the pub to review or look at any CCTV in what length of period since this incident, I take it?
Yes.
So that's giving us a bit of insight in what's been happening since. Thank you very much. What's the panel?
If I can stress, if we would only return to the premises if incidents had been reported. Now, just because we haven't had any reports doesn't mean to say that there haven't been any incidents at the venue. That's the only thing I would raise, Chair.
I understand, Mr. Bowen, but we've got to go on facts, haven't we?
Yeah.
So, Councillor Lawn, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, you've asked the first question I was going to ask, so thank you very much. Is it okay to bring in one of the representations at this point for Mr. Bowen? Is that appropriate? And if it is, I just want to look at the one that has been received against, and it is the only one against, because this person makes some very serious allegations about dealing drugs in the car park, taking drugs inside the pub, rolling joints on the bar, sexual activity in the toilets, serving underage people, urination up against cars and people's homes, staff intoxicated behind the bar whilst working. They're quite serious allegations. Have any of those been reported to the police? Is the police aware of any of those allegations?
There is intelligence associated with this venue and this premises. Unfortunately, there is insufficient evidence that I could have included of those facts within my report. As your chair has highlighted, I should be dealing in facts. There is specific intelligence, yes, about the premises, but there is intelligence about a number of premises across the county. So that's why I have not included that relevant or that information within my report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rod. Any further questions from the panel? In that case, Mr. Whitehead, you can ask questions, but just you can make your statement after. So questions directed to Mr. Rod Bowen, please, if you wish.
I don't have any real questions for Mr. Bowen, but I've been there since 2019. If I thought I needed to call the police on that particular evening, I would have done. From the minute they came in the pub, not one of those people was served. It took 15 minutes to get them all out. I knew a few of those people. The person who got knocked to the ground, I was talking to him outside of the pub and he was fine. I saw no reason to ring the police because I was under the impression that the next door
Mr.
club,
Whitehead,
which
sorry,
is where it happened, is where they came
Mr. Whitehead,
from. Oh, sorry.
A question to Mr. Bond. You're making a statement which you can do in the next part of the meeting. Have you got a direct question to Mr. Rod Bowen?
No, other than the fact that I've been there 7 years and they've never requested once for any CCTV.
Right, thank you. In that case, we haven't got any objectors or representatives to ask questions, have we, Rachel? So now we can move on to you, Mr. Whitehead. You could put your case forward, and I'm sorry I pulled you up before, but this is your chance to say what you want to say before.
Can I ask one question? The person who made the comments about urination and this, that, and the other in the pub, who is that, please?
Rachel, you'll have to clarify if that can be said, if you would.
All those representations are in the report pack, I understand.
Is there a name?
Not that it's not something that would be published. Nat, perhaps, maybe.
We have the name, but they specifically asked to remain anonymous, so we will respect that.
Okay, just on that, I've had a couple of people that I've barred from the premises, so they're always going to say certain things. We do not accept drugs in that pub whatsoever. It's quite clearly there. I mean, Mr. Bowen can come and have a look at the closed circuit TV whenever he wishes to. It's recording. He can come and have a look. As for the issue for that fight or scrap or whatever you want to call it, as soon as I knew that was happening, I was downstairs. I had everybody out within 15 minutes. Not one of those people was served a drink in the pub. Yeah. They'd come from the club next door where the fight had already broken out. I was under the impression from the club that they'd already rang the police. I made sure that the person who got knocked down to the ground was okay. I sat with him outside while he waited for a taxi. I then spoken to him since. On the same evening, he was out enjoying himself in Newtown. This happened quite early because there'd been a football do in the local club next door. As for the issues down to back in 2022 over the COVID outbreak, yes, I could have done more, I think, but it was new to everybody. I was visited on several occasions. Mr. Bowen even came there himself and didn't manage to stick to the rules of the COVID. So that's how hard it is. As for the personal issue with my ex-partner, I see no relevance. I say from day one that I never touched her. I said that in court. Obviously, the judicial system in this country thought otherwise. I'm trying my best in the pub. It's a very, very tough time in the pub industry. 2 pubs a week closing. I just want to keep that pub open. I really don't think I do a bad job there. We are intending to try and do food there. We've been looking at every aspect of any issues. I've made a statement. And, you know, in this industry, things are hard. You know, I love that little pub. I say that open-heartedly. I don't want to go anywhere else. I've been there 7 years. It's been a tough, tough time. COVID nearly bankrupted me. And I just feel a little bit that, you know, I've never had to call the police once to that pub in 7 years. And like the police say there, they're not taking any further action. It's quite clear to see that a guy got knocked to the floor. He did say to me he hadn't been knocked unconscious. He didn't want to get up in case something else happened to him. I spoke with him outside. I saw no reason to ring the police. They're very busy. I saw no reason to speak to him about it. And obviously social media only sees what it wants to see. It doesn't see them coming in. It doesn't see them in the car park where we're trying to get rid of them as best we can. You know, there's lots of people coming to that pub with families and children. You know, there's numerous social media out there with babies in there. And if you've read all the references, some of those are very influential people in our society, and they drink in my pub regularly. And I'd like that to carry on. And if I can do anything to help that, I would. You know, we've had licensed doormen there. We had licensed doormen there on Seuss on the Loose. I closed early because there'd been an issue in the street. You know, I feel a little bit like the County Times has got nothing better to do than put us in the paper every week for the wrong reasons. But like I say, we are trying our best to keep a little business running. And there's a lot of people in Caersws that want that pub open with me there.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Has the panel got any questions for Mr. Whitehead, please? In that case, Mr. Whitehead, what was the trouble with the CCTV? Why wasn't it operating?
Right, on the evening that was asked of me, there was a gentleman by the name of Dave Pugh, who's no longer with us. 2 police officers from out of the area came there looking for him. He made himself known to them straight away. For whatever reason, they chased him around the pub, smashed a load of glasses. They asked me if the CCTV was running. It was nearly 11 o'clock in the evening. All my customers had left. I'd switched them off. Truthfully, I can't remember saying it wasn't working properly. It just wasn't on at the time. And I also said to that police officer outside of the pub, he could come back and speak to me about it whenever he wanted to. I didn't. And I said to him, if there was anything of the issue that he'd wanted to see, I would have shown him. And he said, yeah, he'd be in touch. And I haven't heard from that police officer since. Well, that's not strictly true. On Seuss on the Loose, a police officer, a police sergeant came in the pub and asked me if the closed circuit TV was running and filming. I said it was. He looked. He did then ask me if I had a camera that was filming in the street, which we don't. We have one filming all the doorways, inside car park. As for underage drinking, no. We don't allow underage drinking. We've got it all advertised. I advertise about drugs. We got letters, signs everywhere. It wouldn't be tolerated. I barred several people, including a member of the council. And I would think that member of the council is a person that's making these issues.
I was asking Mr. Whitehead, it's implied in the report that the CCTV hasn't been working for some time.
No,
And-
it's always been working.
Well, it wasn't working the night of the big fight.
That I don't remember saying that to the police officer. It wasn't on because I was closing up, because there was nobody left in the pub apart from 2 police officers who I did speak to. Who
Are you talking about another incident, Mr. Whitehead?
Huh?
Are you talking about another incident here?
No, they came to. This was weeks later. They asked me when they came to arrest Dave Pugh, who's no longer with us. Was a closed circuit TV working on that night? I said I'd switched it off. Yeah,
I understand that, but why wasn't it on the night when you had the big crowd coming in fighting?
it was on then, but this gentleman was asking 3-4 weeks later.
So you hadn't kept the recording.
The recordings wipe over daily.
I see. Right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
they're very expensive. I am looking to buy a better system, but it's a tough industry. And, I've had some quotes. We've got some cameras there that record continually now. They were recording continually. I've installed several new ones. But we've had very few issues in that pub in the 7 years I've been there. And this issue, the main issue that's been mentioned there, that fight started elsewhere. It was really nothing to do with the Buck Hotel. And members of the public came in the next day. I had a donation towards the damage. The people who caused the damage still drink in the pub, paid for the broken light, paid for the queues. The local football authority gave me 2 barrels of beer. Not saying that they were claiming any responsibility, but it was 2 football teams from Caersws arguing with one another, and this item had actually started in the club.
Thank you, Mr. Reddit. Did you want to come in on that, Rod?
Yes,
You've got your
please. I
hand up.
just wanted to, it occurred
sorry,
to
go on
me.
then.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It occurred to me, Mr. Whitehead, that having a CCTV system that wipes on a daily basis is probably not the best, and you've said you've looked into other systems, and if we don't revoke your license, I think we might be looking at that CCTV system being much stronger. But why did you not keep, it might wipe every day, but why did you not keep the footage from that violent incident? Because that would seem to me an absolute obvious thing to do when you've had a fight in the bar.
Yeah, I fully understand that. But I was getting the place closed down as fast as I could. So we switched all the power off instantly. I got the people out. It was like 20 to 8 in the evening, 15 minutes. I was more interested in getting people out than worrying about what was being filmed and what wasn't being filmed. There's plenty of Joe Public making films there on that evening. And I apologise. I've looked into closed circuit TV and I want to get a hardwired system there. That's something that records a 14-day period or something like that. But it's all money, and there's a lot of other things that draw the money. Like I say, that was one incident which was really absolutely nothing to do with the Buck Hotel itself. That issue started elsewhere. It carried on in the street. We got everybody out, like I say, within 15 minutes. We didn't serve any drinks. Not one of those people had a drink. And like the police are saying, they're taking no further action against that. So if it was that bad, surely they would have pushed for more to do something.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead.
I would just, may I just come back on that, Chair?
Okay.
Yes, certainly.
I would just suggest that if you had working CCTV that actually kept the footage, that we wouldn't be sitting here today discussing this, because it does seem to hinge on differences of the accounts from different perspectives.
And I'm sorry for that. I put in my statement that we're looking at it, and we are. I've installed cameras there that work off movement, and they're recording, and they can record for the period of life of that recording. And some of those are 7 or 8 days at the present time. But then I'm thinking to myself, need something better still. So I have been asking for quotes for a hardwired system, and I'm waiting for some quotes for that to come in.
You've established that point. Rod, you put your hand up. I think it was something that was said before.
Yeah, it was basically in relation to Mr. Whitehead's fact that he's suggesting that no persons were served alcohol and that the trouble had started elsewhere. Well, initially, the footage clearly shows that people were drinking alcohol in the premises. There was no sign of anybody causing any issues to start off with until the first punch was thrown. So the first punch was thrown in the premises. In fact, people were playing pool there. As has been raised by one of the other panel members, quite rightly, if we had had CCTV available of that incident, we could have possibly continued to investigate this matter and possibly taken further action. Unfortunately, we didn't. And that is part of the reason why I feel that there is a lack of responsibility by Mr. Whitehead in relation to the management of the premises, and hence why we were here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Can I respond?
Go on then, Mr. Whitehead.
Can I respond to that? Those people were already drinking in my pub, not the people that caused the trouble. They come rushing in from the front door, the rear door. Not one of those people that were involved in that incident were issued a drink in the pub. Yes, I apologise the fact that the coverage wasn't there, but I wasn't asked for that coverage for about 4 weeks. It was 4 weeks later that I was asked by a police officer about the recording. 4 weeks later, that was. I was not asked the day after or a few days later. I wasn't even contacted about it at all, other than a police officer came there to arrest a person on a completely different issue, nothing to do with the buck. And he mentioned it then. And I said
Thank
to
you,
him,
Mr. Whitehead. We are going over the same ground here. You've established you hadn't got a recording. It wipes daily, and that was probably a fault of having a not adequate CCTV system. Can I just ask you, you mentioned when the trouble kicked off, as you said, that you switched all the power off. Now, why would you do that?
I was switching everything off to get people out. I didn't want people thinking we were staying open. I made quite clear that we were closing
lights
and
and everything went off, and you're saying that's why the CCTV wasn't working. Switch the power off.
No, some of the cameras are powered and some weren't. Some of them were off battery power.
Okay, thank you. Just one thing in the report, we must deal with this. There's something about fire regs. You had a list of things that were requested to be done. Have you done those?
Yeah. I've spoken to the fire officer only 2 weeks ago. She rang me from Swansea. She's coming up to check everything's in order. The fire alarm system and everything, when they were checked previously, was fine. I'm just waiting for a date for when she's actually going to come back around.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Any more questions from the panel? No? Rod, have you nothing to ask? In that case, I think we move on to Rod summarizes. Is that right now, isn't it, Rachel? We haven't got any objectors or witnesses want to put the case forward, so we move on to you, Mr. Bowen, to summarize your points.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, Dyfed-Powys invite the members of the subcommittee to consider all of the above options in their determination. If the members of the subcommittee take action that intends to avoid the revocation of a premises licence, they should be satisfied that one of the alternative outcomes will be sufficiently mitigate the concerns that have been highlighted above and within my associated evidence. My point there, Chair, my conclusion was that if you don't consider to revoke the licence, that you do look at strong enough outcomes to ensure that we weren't or don't get into a position where we are at this current time, which has led to my application being made. Thank you, Chair.
Just save us going back to the minutes, Mr. Bowen. Could you list the points that you think really need doing to keep this pub open? As in,
I've highlighted ones that I consider to be appropriate. There may obviously be others that
Yes.
you yourself would think of, but I certainly would suggest that we need to improve the CCTV.
Yeah.
We do need to consider the employment of SIA door staff at appropriate times and on appropriate days. There should be detailed staff training to cover aspects and subjects that promote the 4 key licensing objectives, and training. Such training should be recorded by Mr. Whitehead to say that it has been undertaken, and these records should be available for inspection by the local authority and police on request. Now, it may well be that you yourself can think of other conditions that certainly need to be attached. With the CCTV, this should obviously be an identified stipulation as to how long images are maintained on any systems that Mr. Whitehead had fitted to the premises.
Exactly.
And whilst
go on.
I haven't included in my report, there is a consideration obviously to look at the licensing hours as well. Perhaps maybe something that needs to be possibly considered as well.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think? Yes, that's something we'll discuss. Thank you very much, Rod. In that case, I just ask everybody's had a chance to say what they want to say.
Could I just say one other thing, please?
Yes, go on.
Okay. Going forward, and we've been trying, obviously COVID was one thing. We're in the middle of having the kitchen refurbished, and we intend to do food there. We're pet friendly. We do get quite a few people in with pets and children. The licensing hours are tough enough as it is. We're very rarely open very late, but it's good to have the opportunity if there is something to do. You know, I don't want to be any different to any other pub in the village.
Right, thank you, Mr. Whitehead.
Thank you.
In that case, I think we now retire to our back room, backstage, what you would call it, Rachel, and the panel will discuss and make a decision. Is that right?
That's correct, Chair. Jade will
Remove
remove you to the breakout room.